and I am so excited to welcome you all to the third of four workshops in our Chapter Chat series. Wisconsin FBLA appreciates everyone who's been hopping along on our calls, and we hope that you get to take full advantage of them to better your FBLA journey. I'd like to pass it over to your wonderful host for the night, starting with Miss Natalie Kuhn.
Hello, everyone. Like Greta said, we're super excited for you to be joining us on our October chapter chat. And tonight we're going to be going over planning an effective meeting and community service projects. So to begin with introductions, my name is Natalie Kuhn. I'm currently serving as your state parliamentarian and National North Central Region Vice President.
Hi, guys. I'm Elsa Lindberg. I'm your Region 3 Vice President.
Hi, I'm Olivia Passig, and I am your Region 6 Vice President.
Okay, so to begin our meeting off, we're gonna start with planning an effective meeting. So in this section, we're gonna go over understanding the 5 voices, parliamentary procedure, and of course, agendas. So, the 5 voices. So if you're not familiar with the 5 voices, they're not exactly voices, but in the way they are, they're kind of like personality types. It's like who you are as a person and who other people are. There's volumes to see who do you hear most in a conversation, who can take over, who pops in, etc. So, of course, there are 5 voices. The nurturer, which has a volume of 1, the creative, which has a volume of 2, the guardian, which has a volume of 3, the connector, which has a volume of 4, and the pioneer, which has a volume of 5. So before we do our little breakdown of each voice, we'll go over the benefits of this knowledge. So kind of knowing everyone's voice and personality in general and how they lead a group identifies how the team works together, like their strengths, their weaknesses, because you're only as strong as your weakest player. And you all want to be strong as an individual and as a team. And this is also a good way to make sure everyone's involved, where all voices are heard. Understanding everyone's weaknesses or needs helps better the team and conversation overall. So we'll go over each voice individually, starting with the nurturer. So as I said before, nurturers volume 1, they can be heard, yes. It just might take some time. So they are the champion of people. They like to they like to have harmony. They try not to create disharmony and try to prevent others from creating disharmony. And they like to create healthy relationships because they are known as the peacemaker. So they're pretty cool. Then there is the creative. They're volume 2. They tend to pop in every now and often within a conversation. And they are the champion of future ideas, innovations, and integrity. So these people, they like to think outside the box and they like to think ahead. So they're the ones always thinking of new ideas and how this could affect the future because they want to make sure whatever's done now will also benefit what's ever going to happen soon or in the future. Then our third voice is the guardian. The guardian is a volume 3. They're like the middleman. They are the champion of due diligence, systems and process, rules and regulations. So they're like the middleman. They make sure all the rules and regulations are being followed. They ask the hard questions because we all need that one person to ask those hard questions so you as a group know what you're doing. Because if you can't answer those hard questions, maybe you need to rethink things. So that's why it's always good to have a guardian in the group to figure out what's what. Then our next voice is the connector, volume 4. They're the champion of networks, connections, collaborations, and effective communication. So these people are the social people. Like they'll walk up to you and start a random conversation. They're very good at socializing. and they love to make new friends or just meet new people. So if you need a person to like find you a job or give you a ride, the connector can definitely help you in that situation. I'm a connector and I love socializing with people. I think it's amazing to just meet new people, know their story, and find a new friend along the way. They're also pretty good at communication, so that's always a plus to have in a group and team setting. And then finally, of course, we have the Pioneer. They're a Volume 5, and they're the champion of strategic visions, result focused, and problem solving. These people are quite good at communication as well. They like to have a plan. They're pretty focused on something. They do one thing at a time, and they're very good at finding a solution when it comes to a problem. They also have that anything is possible attitude, which is always good to have in a group setting because no one likes negative energy, and they're usually the positive ones. They're always the positive ones that are like, yes, we can do this, guys. We got this. So it's always good to have someone like that in there. So you might already know what your voice is, but if you're unsure, I totally suggest writing down the link here. I'll give you a bit of time. But this link, it will get you to an assessment that you can take, and it can help you figure out what voice you are. How do you lead a group? What you are as a person? Like, what's your personality? So I totally suggest taking this assessment if you don't know, because it will definitely benefit you, and maybe it can help you figure out the people around you, figure out their personality, who they are. Now, I will say everyone has access to all 5 of these voices. It just might be harder to access a certain one compared to other people. Totally depends on you, though, your personality and you. Give you a few more seconds to write that down if you want. Okay. Now I'll pass it on to Natalie.
Perfect. So now that you know more about the voices and different effective leadership styles, we still need to put in place some more regulated orders and systems. So parliamentary procedure is used during a lot of meetings and discussions as a standard for facilitating the discussions and group decision making. So parliamentarians often lead this process, and they're usually experts in rules of order and the proper procedures for the conduct of meetings, and they assist organizations in drafting and interpreting bylaws, amendments, rules of order, and just like planning overall meetings. So if you want to learn more about parliamentary procedure and how to implement that into your own meetings, you can read about it and do your research. FBLA utilizes Robert's Rules of Order, which is a book that explains all that you need to know about how to pass like certain amendments, how to make motions, and very detailed descriptions of how to do everything. So you can refer to that book as a guide. And then there's also a competitive event based on parliamentary procedure. So based on Robert's Rules of Order and the FBLA bylaws, the organization as a whole, you can compete in the event. So whether you know a lot about it or you want to learn more about it, it's a great opportunity. Freshmen and sophomores can compete in Introduction to Parliamentary Procedure, and then all grades can compete in regular parliamentary procedure, which is a group of 4 to 5 people, and definitely a great opportunity there. And you need to learn about this as soon as you can, because implementing parliamentary procedure in your own chapter will help you begin to understand the process that it takes to run meetings in an orderly fashion. So these are more like strict by the rules, whereas like the 5 voices are more of like understanding the people around you. So by implementing both of these, it's a great opportunity to have those effective meetings.
Okay, so now that you know how to like better understand your team and yourself, and how to possibly run an effective and formal meeting, I totally suggest using agendas. Agendas are a great way to organize what needs to be discussed during a meeting. I use agendas. I'm sure a lot of other people use agendas. They're just a great way to organize your thoughts and main points that need to be discussed during this meeting. So how to start one? You definitely need a plan. Every meeting usually has a purpose, and if it doesn't, that's okay. You can brainstorm a purpose. So of course, the first step is to brainstorm the purpose of the meeting and what needs to be accomplished. This could be like future events that need to be decided. What are they? When will they happen? Or like little like amendments that need to be voted on. Should we change this? Should we keep that? Etc. And then of course, you need to find a way to organize this information so you can figure out what needs to be discussed first, how long should we discuss this, what else needs to be mentioned. I personally like to create my agendas on Google Documents. It's a good way to organize what I want to talk about. And on the other side of the screen, I have like a little example of how I organize my ideas. I use Roman numerals as the description of my main point, like membership. If that's my main point, I'll put that as my number one Roman numeral. Then my subpoint to maybe go with membership would be a regular number like 1, 2, or 3. And then maybe a letter will be a certain detail under that subpoint. Like, since we're talking about membership, maybe I'll talk about how many new members I want. And then maybe that detail will be how many specific members I want from that grade. So anyway, that's a great way to organize your information. And of course, while you're having this meeting, it's always good to have a secretary or someone voluntarily take notes on what's being discussed or the decisions that are being made. So it's always good to have someone take minutes on the agenda during the meeting so it could be referred to later. Like, let's say you wanted to bring up what happened last meeting so you can continue the conversation. Or maybe you need to remember this date and put it into another agenda. It's always good to have agendas to look back on what has been discussed and what still needs to be discussed. So totally suggest having agendas. It's always a good resource to have, so think about it.
So one of the things that we're going to be talking about is a community service project. So to get started with that, what are some different community service projects that you guys have done?
At my school, currently we're doing like a different group of people each month. So this month is firefighter month, and then we're making cards for all of our volunteer firefighters, and we are hosting a breakfast for them.
That's a really nice idea. Thank you, Sydney.
Mia said holiday card making when we give cards to law enforcement and senior homes. Greta said bell ringing for Salvation Army and cards for troops. Does anybody else have one? Maybe they want to share it in the chat.
Oh, I'll say one verbally. One thing my school does is actually there's a church across the street from us, and they need young people to rake leaves when the leaves fall. So a few students and I go over and rake leaves before winter usually starts. And then of course after winter there's still some debris around, so we go over and do it again.
Lucy also said that once a month their chapter goes to pick up trash on a road in town. Claire's chapter makes tie blankets. Kira said that their chapter does trick or treat for canned goods. Mason says that they did an Operation Fruit Basket where they hand out 100 fruit baskets throughout the community. These are a lot of really cool ideas for each chapter.
Okay. Good ideas, everyone.
So a lot of people do community service projects in their own chapter, but very few actually know that they can submit these projects for competitive review. So the Community Service Project competitive event is a chapter event that anyone's chapter can do. 1 to 3 people will present that at the state and national conference if they qualify. They don't have a regional one, so you have time to think about what you want to do and plan that to present at state. But it consists of a 15-page report, and you can use planned events. You can use events that you've started to already plan, have underway, as long as you have that set idea, and then you can carry that out throughout the year. So then looking into a timeline for this event, it can begin now by brainstorming community service projects for your chapter. So if any of the ideas that we previously shared sounded interesting to you, you can definitely go ahead and try using those. You can adapt that to your own chapter or use it exactly how it is. A lot of you guys already had some great ideas. So if you want to even do the ideas that you already have, you can go for that. Or if you have different ideas that you want to start, you can go for that as well. But by beginning to brainstorm now, it gives you plenty of time to facilitate the project throughout the next couple months. So then from November through February, you can complete the community service project and work on your report. And we're going to talk about some of the topics that you have to discuss in the report later. But by having that time, you want to start as early as you can to produce that quality work of the community service project and the reflections along the way. So then in April, you'll be able to compete at the State Leadership Conference. So like we said before, there's 1 to 3 presenters from your chapter that will represent your hard work, your community service project throughout the year. So definitely want to work hard on that. It is a chapter event, and we do want to emphasize that because everyone should be contributing, and that is a topic that they want to cover, because everyone should contribute to the project because it is, like we said before, a chapter project, and we want to get as many people involved as possible. So then moving on to June, if you qualify for nationals, you'll be able to compete at the National Leadership Conference, which is being held in Atlanta this year. So that's a super exciting opportunity for your chapter. And all you have to do is try to complete that community service project event because, you never know what can happen unless you try. So you can find more information about like the deadlines on the national website, but just remember to pay attention to due dates. So then moving on, we have what you need to do. So this 15-page report consists of a description of the project, chapter member involvement, your degree of impact on the community, evidence of publicity received, and project evaluation. So the description of the project is pretty basic, an overview of what you've done, and then you'll go into detail about like the specific steps and how you facilitated that in order to produce a quality event. And then the chapter member involvement is just having the whole chapter involved. If you want to include statistics to make that very defined, that's a great way to do it. If you want to say 95% of your chapter was involved or 15 members, those are great ways to have that statistic and evidence of that chapter member involvement. And we have degree of impact on the community. We want to make sure that your community service project is impactful. And so whether that's donating like tie blankets to like a homeless shelter or see what are some other ones that we said before, doing the trash pickup, those are all very important to the community. And you can see that by the direct degree of impact, whether that's people saying that like, wow, you guys made such a difference, or just knowing that this project has impacted people in such a positive way. That's really important for the community. And then evidence of publicity received. So that kind of goes along with the degree of impact, but just having that source of information that proves that you've done that, whether that's in a local newspaper or a school website, you want to make sure that that publicity is received. And it not only benefits you for this project, but it's really important because it will really get the word out and support your local chapter and all the hard work you guys have done. So that's definitely important. And we have project evaluation. So that's just kind of a report on what you've done in the past, like the whole community service project, how you felt about it, what went well, what didn't, just the basic evaluation of the project. So then there's a lot of recognition and honors you can get for this. So there's certificates and plaques. Like all other events, this project provides a chance to win those prizes. So at state, nationals, all of those Pretty cool prizes that you see on stage. You can definitely earn those for your chapter. And then you can also receive local and national recognition and state. But the winning teams in the state will advance to nationals in Atlanta and represent the state of Wisconsin. So I believe those are the top 4 that go. And then there's local recognition, which is having an impact on your own community. And you can receive local recognition there. I mean, technically, you're required to with that publicity evidence. But also just knowing that you had such an impact is really important. And then it's also a huge resume builder. So winning this state or national event, or even just participating, will look impressive on any resume, college application, job application, anything like that. Because whether you're just contributing to this project or presenting it at a competitive level, it's very important, and it will look very good on any applications. So then we'd like to open it up for questions before we go further. So if there's any questions about the community service project event, anything about like the 5 Voices parliamentary procedure, anything like that, you can either put it in the chat or raise your hand, say it out loud, and we will answer it for you. All right, so then we can move on to the next slide.
So next we're going to play a Kahoot, kind of to review everything that we did and to talk about some other things a little deeper. So if you don't know how to join Kahoot, you can just look up Kahoot on your laptop or your phone or whatever. And then if you can find Kahoot Play, and then just enter in the PIN.
Okay. Is there anyone else we're waiting on? Anyone else that wants to participate? Oh my gosh, the emoji's so cute. Love that. Okay. I think we're ready. What do you think, Olivia?
The code is 9207385.
Okay, I think we have everyone, so let's get started, shall we? Oh, okay, we got one more. Good job, good job. I'm going to start now.
So the first question then is, why do agendas matter? So agendas matter so that we A, can have a plan of what we're going to do for our meeting, and then B, to keep things organized for either the next meeting or just so you know what's going on for your meeting.
Oh, good job, guys. Ooh, see.
So then, true or false? Is this an example of a good agenda? So just like Elsa's example from earlier, that was a good example. It had all the big main topics, and then it had little subtopics that came off of it. So then, what are the 5 voices? So as we went over earlier, it's nurturer, pioneer, connector, creative, and guardian.
Ooh, Mia's keeping her stand.
So then what is a trait of a nurturer? So nurturers love to celebrate others.
Good job, everybody. So proud.
What is a trait of the creative? So creatives like to think outside of the box. They like to find different ideas. So then what is a connector? I think you can skip once we hit 10 answers.
Oh, okay. Well, count down to 3.
So a connector likes to make personal relationships and close bonds. What is a trait of a guardian? So guardians have relentless commitment to things. They'll keep trying things even when things get hard. Then the next question, what's the trait of a pioneer? So as you may remember Elsa talking about earlier, they have the anything is possible attitude. Everything that is in their head, they believe that they can do, and they believe they are going to do well.
You all got that right. Good job.
So then true or false, cleaning a highway is community service. So that's true. That's pretty obvious. If you're doing something for your community, it's service for them.
Oh my, it's getting pretty close.
So
Keep it
true
up, guys.
Doing my math homework is community service. So once again, pretty obvious. It's not community service if you're just doing it for yourself. So then this is just a slide to kind of talk about what are community service ideas that you could do. Doing things like volunteering at a food bank or helping at a homeless shelter. You could run a charity walk for the charity of your choice. You could go clean a local park or a highway like we talked about. Like Lucy said, you can make blankets to donate them. You can trick or treat for cans and then donate them to a food pantry. Or you can just write cards for first responders or just people in general that serve the community. So then how many presenters are in the community service project? So as Natalie talked about earlier, you can have 1 to 3 presenters for the community service project. And then true or false, community service projects can be done at regionals. So that's false. As you may remember, the beautiful timeline Natalie made, that only had us presenting at state and nationals. This is not a local thing yet. During the time of regionals is when you can start working on what community service project you're gonna do and writing up your report.
Once again, it's so close. Keep it up, guys.
So then how long is the community service project? So this is just like, how many pages is it supposed to be for the report? So your report should be about 15 pages. So then what do you get from doing the community service project? So when you do the community service project, as Natalie said, some of the things you can get are, you can get a plaque or certificate, you can get recognition at the national level by winning a title, you can get recognition from your local chapter, as they'll just be able to see what you're doing and be able to respect you as a person for doing community service. So then, will you participate in the community service project? So for those of you who are thinking about it or said yes, this is a project that you can start looking into right away with your advisor and talking to them about it. So then one of the other things I wanted to mention is that this community project will take time. So even though you're just presenting in April at state, it's gonna start right away, basically almost next month or now, because you're gonna wanna have time to get your whole community service project done, and then to find the people who are gonna do this project and make the report and present about it. You'll have to find the time to write the 15-page report, and then you're probably gonna wanna review it and go over it as a group. Before April this is, you have to practice your presentation and look over this report to submit. And so altogether, it's going to end up taking a lot of time. And so as long as you are dedicated and want to try this out, you should start right away. So then when is the first presentation for the community service project? So it is at state. So as soon as you decide that you want to do this, be ready to present at state. So then our winners, in third place, we have Sydney. In second place, we have Mia. And then in first place, we have Claire. Good job, everybody.
Good job. I'm proud of all of you guys. You all did so good. Okay, well, that concludes our presentation, guys. We thank you all for attending. If you have any more further questions you want to ask, feel free to ask or type in the chat. Otherwise, we really appreciate all you guys' participation and support. So good job. Good to you.
And then if you do have any further questions, you can feel free to reach out to us on through all of our emails, which are listed on the state website, as well as the Instagram for more information at Wisconsin FBLA, and then any other resources like the state national website, all of that. Otherwise, you can just feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to direct you to any resources if you do have questions. But yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for attending, and have a great rest of your night.